I am finally sitting down to do this video of things I've been reading, but I've decided to split it into 2 or 3 book videos, so they'll be coming out periodically. The biggest, you'll have to excuse the state of me while I'm filming this. Anyone who's watching my vlogs right now at the end of March will know I've got a cold. It's nothing else, I've been tested, it is just a cold. But I'm going to do sort of fantasy sci-fi type book haul, I suppose, of what I've read in the last 6 months, because I haven't done a book thingy for ages. We'll start with these, which I've mentioned in various videos just in my daily vlogs, but I got Eragon ages and ages ago from a charity shop, and it took me ages to actually decide to read it because it's quite a big one, and I was like, oh, it's so big, I'm just going to read some smaller ones for now. But I'm really glad I read it, because then I read the second one. So the start of the series, or what is it, quadrology, would that be it? 4 books, quadrology, not a trilogy. It says, when Eragon finds a polished blue stone in the forest, he thinks it is the lucky discovery of a poor farm boy. Perhaps it will buy his family meat for the winter. But when the stone brings a dragon hatchling, Eragon soon realises he has stumbled upon a legacy nearly as old as the Empire itself. Overnight, his simple life is shattered, and he is thrust into a perilous new world of destiny, magic, and power. Can Eragon take up the mantle of the legendary dragon riders? The fate of the Empire may rest in his hands. And it's a proper, in-depth, but not complicated to follow story about how he goes from being a simple, poor farm boy in a village to having the responsibility of being a dragon rider, basically, and being trained up. He meets somebody who was living in the village as a storyteller, and there's obviously more to this guy than first appears. And when the king's men and not men, these creatures, come to find the dragon egg so that he can have this ultimate power, he wants to control all the dragons, and he's not a good king. When he comes and destroys the village, doesn't destroy the village, but starts ransacking the village and destroys his farm and kills his grandfather, these 2 people, this older storyteller guy who's got more to him than meets the eye, and Eragon, are thrown together, and that's where the adventures start. So that is the first book in the series. It is by Christopher Paluni. So there you go. And then the second one obviously carries on from there, with the dragon. He basically is being trained up by the elves, and is going through some physical changes, which will be explained in the book. Not your usual sort of teenage lad physical changes. We're talking about things that come from being with the elves. So yes, that's the second one, called Eldest. And the dragon herself that he has hatched, she's learning as well. They're both being trained up to be dragon riders, and to defeat this king who is not very nice. So that's all I'm going to tell you about those, but definitely highly recommend those. They are big reads, as you can see, but fantasy does tend to be a bit like that. And then a good couple of years ago, I got bought this by my mum. Richard E. Feist's classic fantasy epic, The Magician, has enchanted readers for over 25 years. So this is not a new book by any means. This has been around for ages. I just came to it very, very late. And again, it's sort of a historical, not historical because it's a fantasy world, but I suppose it's more like when there was castles and knights and that kind of thing. It's a fantasy world based around that kind of life, sort of a past not too advanced life, I suppose, or peoples. But I say not too advanced, they can move between dimensions. So yes, there is an element of magic and advanced life going on, if that makes any sense. But yes, it starts with this lad who basically becomes a magician's apprentice, and he's called Pug, and his friend Thomas. So that's the first one. It starts off with them as young boys and how they become what they become, and then something happens to Pug and something happens to Thomas, and they go down very different paths, and grow into adults, and how their experiences have made them the adults that they are. And then you have the other two, The Darkness at Sethanon and Silverthorn, which both come after that first book, and really do improve on the story. You know, they don't let the first book down. You know, they continue the story of what's going on with these two, with the battle that is going on. There is a battle going on, you know, it's a battle between this world and another. So yeah, there's the interest between, how can I tell you it without ruining it for you if you want to read it? How the battle happens and what is going on, but the different sides from the different dimensions, the different, you know, this parallel universe type dimension thing and this universe that they started in. There's no clear right or wrong. You know, it'll be explained. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin key points of the story, which you want to find on your own. You want to have your own journey with these books. So, highly recommended if you're looking for big reads. The Raymond Feist magician, what is it called? The Rift War series? Yeah, the Rift War series. Okay, then for my birthday last year, back in June, Lidl was selling Stranger Things books, and we love Stranger Things. And so Lee bought me these two Stranger Things books. This one first, Suspicious Minds. Okay, and it says here, if you think you know the truth about Eleven's mother, so I don't know if any of you have watched Stranger Things, you will like this. The truth about Eleven's mother, prepare to have your mind turned upside down. It's the summer of 1969. The world is changing and Terry Ives isn't content to watch from the sidelines. When word gets around about an important government experiment, she signs on as a test subject. But behind the walls of Hawkins National Laboratory and the piercing gaze of its director, Dr. Martin Brenner, lurks a dark conspiracy. To face it, you'll need to help her fellow test subjects, including a mysterious young girl with unexplained powers. So it tells you basically where 11 comes from. It tells you about the early days of Dr. Brenner's scientific experiments and delving into using mind-altering drugs, basically, to bring people into a state where they might either be able to travel with their mind or what we know as the upside down, delve into. But he doesn't really know exactly what he's dealing with at that point. And the characters are a real mix of characters, but they're all held together by this common situation that they found themselves in, which is basically being students who have decided to earn a little bit of extra cash by signing up for being subjects for this scientific thing. And obviously they were being given pretty horrid drugs, and then as time goes by they can't leave. They're being pulled in from all angles. He's very clever so that they can't just walk out on him. Yeah, it's a really good sort of book to get to know a little bit about what was going on before the Stranger Things series, if you see what I mean. So it helps if you've seen Stranger Things. And the second one is... Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the second one is Darkness on the Edge of Town. That first one was by Gwenda Bond, and this one is by Adam Christopher. So they're written by different people. And this one is about Hopper's life. So that's the police officer from Stranger Things. And it's about his life before he lived in Hawkins. He actually lived in Hawkins, then married, had a child and moved away, or moved away and had a child. And he ended up in New York in 1977 in not a very good area. And so this tells you a bit about his history pre-Hawkins, pre-being chief of Hawkins Police. So it's really good actually, because I always found that Hopper was a bit of a mysterious character. Like, he didn't seem to let you know much about his past. And there's obviously some tragedy because his wife and his child are not around in Hawkins with him through Stranger Things. And I don't remember ever finding out what happened to them. I might have missed that. It's been a while since I've seen the series. But yeah, this kind of gives you a little idea, not what happened to them, but what his life used to be like back in 1977. And it's how he gets involved in a gang with a guy who's using mind control and basically is trying to take over the city, and other people get drawn into it. People that he wouldn't have expected to be involved have got drawn into it. There is that sort of weird element of sort of non-reality, I suppose, this kind of alternate reality. I don't know. Not really alternate reality. What would it be? Mind control kind of thing going on. But yeah, it's a really interesting story on its own. And probably if you didn't even know about Stranger Things, you'd probably enjoy this book, because it is kind of a story in its own right outside of Stranger Things. It doesn't really link very much to Stranger Things. I'm just looking at Lee in the corner over there making funny faces at me. Can I help you? He's going, I love you. Oh, such a distraction. He's brought me a cup of tea, which I'm probably cutting out of the video. And he's now stood at the doorway going, I love you. He's in a funny mood. Okay, and the last one is Echopraxia, which is by Peter Watts. There we go. Again, charity shop buys, because I'm a cheapskate and I don't buy books from bookstores. I always get them secondhand, or sometimes from Amazon. If it's a series and I really, really want the next in the series, I have been known to buy them brand new. But as a general rule, all my books are secondhand. This one says it's the eve of the 22nd century and the beginning of the end. Humanity splinters into strange new forms with every heartbeat. Hive minds coalesce, rapture-stricken, speaking in tongues. Soldiers forego consciousness for combat efficiency. A nightmare human subspecies has been genetically resurrected. That's a vampire, by the way. Half the population has retreated into the ersatz security of a virtual environment called heaven, and it's all under surveillance by an alien presence that refuses to reveal itself. Daniel Brooks has turned his back on it all, taking refuge in the Oregon desert. As an unaugmented baseline human, so he's had none of the additional things added like special vision or special hearing or super strength, or he's just a baseline human. He's an irrelevance, a living fossil for human extinction beckons. But he's about to find himself an unwilling pilgrim on a voyage to the heart of the solar system that will bring the fractured remnants of mankind to the biggest evolutionary breakpoint since the origin of thought. So, this is a far more deeper, complex read. It's by Peter Watts. Did I say that? There were moments I was like, why am I still reading this? He's lost me several times. but I'm glad I persevered with it. It is hard going. If you're just somebody who likes an easy read, this is not going to be for you. If you like something a bit more in depth with a bit more, I don't know, part of it was the way he wrote. He would lose me with his writing style. But it is interesting. There are different types of humans, different, so what is it, the 22nd century, so we're quite far on in the future, and things have changed and people have had upgrade chips. But he ends up in space on a bit of a mission that he didn't intend to be involved in, but turns out there was more behind him being there than we first think. You kind of think it was all a little bit wrong place, wrong time. That may not be the case, as you find out as you read the book. And vampires are certainly not the vampires that we know. They're very different. Quite a few twisty turny bits in the book. So yeah, definitely worth a read if you don't mind something a bit more brain boggling. So those are my recommendations in my sci-fi section. Quick reads, definitely go for these. Really into quick reads. If you are looking for something that is a bit, you want to read a series of stuff, fiction-y, fantasy type stuff, definitely go. If you haven't already, because like I said, I came late into this. These are quite old. And definitely, again, I've probably come in quite late on these, to be honest. I can't remember when they were first illustrated. 2003, maybe, something like that. Again, I've come quite late into these. If you like dragons and that kind of thing, then yeah, they're for you as well. And if you want a bit of a tough read, that one. Right, I'm going to drink my tea and then I'll move on to the next one. I will share these out sort of sporadically over the next few weeks for you, so you don't all get bombarded with books all at the same time.